It is the Illini Basketball Podcast, episode 127, as the Illini fresh off of a dominating victory over those clowns at Syracuse. Jim Boeheim, embarrasses himself once again in front of a national audience as the ESPN crew made sure to make like 173 cuts to him on the camera. So that was good.
Yeah, Jim Boeheim, I guess he's not wrong, though, because the Big Ten was not good in the ACC Big Ten Challenge.
Well, there's matchup factors. And also, let me just say this: 3-minute post game, Jim. Seriously, I know they stopped asking questions, but 3 minutes, and he's doing that thing where coaches that are mad will just cut off the question and be like, "Well, one thing I love about what Boeheim did there is that he dumped all over his players, which I think is hilarious because his coaching. You really think he's a good coach right now? Because I'm not totally convinced.
Yeah, we will get into that. You wanted some quotes after the watch party, so 3 minutes of quotes. I guess we'll probably just read the whole transcript. I don't know, but yeah, Illinois beat Syracuse 73-44. Impressive defense, not impressive shooting, but find a way to blow out a team. That's all that really matters. This is going to be the We Love Coleman Hawkins episode, so you guys buckle in for that. I know you guys know we love him so much, so get your seatbelts ready. And we got the snow going today. It's December 1st, so happy December. So player of the game. I think this one was pretty easy this time around. We're going with Coleman Hawkins, of course. 29 minutes, 7 for 11, 1 of 2 from 3. Missed both his free throws, 15 points, 10 rebounds, 10 assists. Sounds like a triple-double to me. 1 steal, 2 turnovers. Syracuse defense played perfectly into Coleman Hawkins having a huge game. You text me, and I had a buddy text me both probably 2 minutes apart and said, I'm worried about, or how's Illinois going to handle it? You said, I'm worried about the zone. And I said, Coleman Hawkins in the middle, easy 20-point, 10-assist game. He had 15 points. He had 10 assists. I didn't predict the 10 rebounds because he's averaging 6 this year per game, and he's only had 11 over the last 3 games, which is, not great. But he said that, the score is right next to the all your stats. So he looked up there and he saw that. And he said, quote, okay, this is possible. I am going to play hard. I know I shouldn't be doing that. The only thing I don't like about this is I don't mind that he's chasing it, but he decided that he was going to play hard to get a triple-double, not he's going to play hard because you should play hard. So
certainly didn't play hard against Lindenwood.
Yeah. But he was really good. He was really efficient. I wish he would have squared up to the basket a few more times. Probably could have made a few more shots, but Brad talks about it all the time that Coleman Hawkins is always a pass first guy. Brad said afterwards, quote, Coleman sees one pass ahead. That's why he's so good against man. Well, this was zone defense, so I don't know. Anyways, and then Coleman said that the coaches are always telling him to shoot the ball, but he said that he likes facilitating more. He likes passing, so he turns down a few shots every once in a while, and the coaches are just going to have to live with that. So Coleman, very generous with the ball. We've talked about it in the past, but hey, this was a game to do it. It seemed like the first half Illinois couldn't get it to Coleman or weren't trying hard enough. They basically had their 2 guards standing out, passing it back and forth and nobody moving. And it seemed like in the second half, they made an emphasis to get Coleman Hawkins a touch every time down the court. And I think that's what really changed the game, what opened it up for Illinois. So it was really good to see Coleman have a breakout game. Let's hope he can continue it like this. Brad also said, quote, he would rather make a pass than a shot, and yet he's a very good shooter. He's very unselfish that way. So good work. You got anything else to say on Coleman? We praised him long enough. Time to move on.
Well, I think that when you're facing a team that I would say is very bad defensively no matter what setup they use. Like, I think Fran said on the broadcast that they started the year in man and then switched back to the zone. I don't think that this team is capable of being good at either. They literally jump out on everything, which you're not Virginia, number one. Number two, that's not going to work, especially when Illinois can just get inside as easily as they did. And I think the only good player for Syracuse in this game was Edwards. So
yeah, and there were so many points where Illinois would get the ball in the corner, and all it took was a head fake because Edwards was literally leaving his feet every time. So a head fake and a drive to open up the court a little bit more. But yeah, Illinois' shooting was just, it wasn't there. They almost shot 43s. Terrence Shannon Jr. almost had half of those. Terrence Shannon with 33 minutes, 5 for 17, whopping 5 for 15 from 3, 2 for 2 from the free throw line, 17 points, 7 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 blocks, 2 turnovers. So led the team in scoring, but man, did he shoot a lot of threes.
This looks like, this reminds me of Io's line against Baylor a couple years ago, so not as bad.
Yeah.
Io was 6 for 17 in that game with 18 points. That's just the first thing that came to my head. Also, he had 10 rebounds. I remember people were all over, or 6 rebounds. I remember people were all over Io in that game, like, oh, he's so bad. 6 for 17 or 6 for 18. You kidding me? It's like, okay,
he could have been 13 for 39, like Caleb Love was
a
few nights ago. So.
What is this, amateur hour?
Illinois, you take what the zone gives you, I guess. So you expected them to shoot a lot of threes. I don't know if I expected Terrence Shannon to shoot 15 of them, but Illinois was 11 for 39 from 3, 28.2%. So it says a lot about their defense to shoot this poorly and to hold Syracuse to 44 points is pretty impressive. Syracuse didn't have a scorer in double digits.
They are so bad.
Edwards, like you said, was probably the most impressive player. He had 17 rebounds, which is insane. And then I think the only other notable play was Mintz on the breakaway that when he dunked on Sky. So but Terrence did have back-to-back threes in the midway through the first half. To give Illinois a lead. I mean, Syracuse stayed in this game for a little while, and it just seemed like Illinois just finally just wore them down. And, Illinois went on a 8-0 run over the last, 8 minutes, it said. Syracuse didn't score for 8 minutes, and Illinois could only go on an 8-0 run. But that was just kind of how this game was. A lot of bad shooting. But, again, he almost won by 30, and he couldn't get the ball to go in. I mean, Illinois could have scored an insane amount of points this game. So.
This game also showed me that how on earth did this Syracuse team even take St. John's to overtime? That's a bad reflection on St. John's. This Syracuse team is horrendous. They're going to be fighting with Florida State and Louisville.
I think it's because it's two sloppy teams. I mean, St. John's makes you play sloppy. Syracuse is already sloppy.
And Illinois is only turned the ball over 7 times. Plus, I think Illinois definitely Syracuse could have played – if Syracuse would have played man defense, I think Illinois might have scored 95 points. Because I think
I agree.
The matchups are just so heavily – like, who the hell is Girard going to guard in that spot? No.
And there's just – I mean, it's so hard to penetrate that zone by dribbling. Illinois did it a few times, but you get right past the 3-point line and you're going to be double teamed, which you don't see very often unless you're going against a zone like that. So.
As bad as Syracuse is, if you can beat a team, especially a power conference team, by 29 points and your point guard goes 0 for 10 from the field and that's 2 points, I mean, that's pretty good.
Yeah. Steve, what's up? Thanks for stopping by, man. Yeah, very good win. All things considered with the scoring and everything else. It again, I keep reiterating how good the defense was pretty big. You talked about Sky 0 for 10, 0 for 7 from 3. He's shooting more, so I'm not mad. But he missed his first 2 free throws too, and it's just like what happened? But 2 points, 5 rebounds, which you like to see out of your point guard. 5 rebounds is always nice to see. 3 assists, 2 steals. his shooting was bad, but he worked the middle a few times. When he got the ball, he made some nice dishes. It was nice to see him. He could penetrate a little bit better than Coleman just squaring up and looking for a pass. But yeah, shooting was bad, but no turnovers.
I think he played about as well as somebody that goes 0 for 10 from the field can play.
Yeah.
I mean, he did pretty much everything else pretty well. The free throw shooting thing was weird because they were awful in the first half, but they did figure it out in the second half and go 13 for 17. So
yeah,
I guess you take that. I think if anything, RJ Melendez was really the only trustworthy guy at the line in this game.
Yeah, I was going to say 13 for 15, but RJ made half of those basically.
He made 4 of them at the end of the game with the double tech. So.
Yeah. So RJ 21 minutes. He had 2 fouls in the first half early, and Brad was asked about that and keeping him on the bench, and Brad said, "quote loved his first play going for the offensive rebound." He ended up getting a foul. Both of those seemed kind of ticky-tacky to start the game.
Second one was ridiculous.
Yeah, but he is staying aggressive. He went on a little 6-0 run by himself, 15 points, 6 rebounds. Seemed like, Illinois was really, honing in on getting rebounds. They only won the rebounding margin by 4, but 46-42. RJ, another solid game. So Steve says, I like the role Hawkins is taking on this team.
You might change your mind after Friday night.
I like the role he takes against a Boeheim zone.
I will say this about Coleman Hawkins. I would say if he's going to be a pass-first guy, which he clearly wants to be and has been this season, I think he still needs to have some sort of balance where he's trying to make plays towards the basket.
I agree. Yeah.
And getting the ball to other people in that case that he can't get through. Because I think Maryland, which we'll get to later, but they have a lot of athleticism that size up with Coleman Hawkins. So I think that's going to be a big factor to how he follows this performance up, because it's not going to be as easy as just standing in the middle of the zone and picking Syracuse apart, which is what he did, which is exactly what he had to do. And we gave him plenty of shout-outs. So I feel like, if he wanted to come on this episode, he probably would.
I don't think that Coleman had any of those one-armed winged passes either this game. He had a couple nice no-looks. I mean, there's no doubt that Coleman is a really good passer. And I know that he wants to be the guy that facilitates the offense and find his teammates the shot. But there's points where you need to take the shot. So I hope that we see this all the time. I think this game was just set up for Coleman to have a spectacular game, which he did, which is great. I mean, it would have been bad if he had a bad game, right? I mean, in this situation. Matthew Meyer, 21 minutes, 2 of 6, 0 for 3 from 3. He was 1 of 2 from the free throw line, 5 points, 5 rebounds. Again, like to see those guys getting those rebounds. 3 assists, 2 steals. So I put down here another great glue guy effort. He kind of reminds me of, a DeMonte where, right now you can't rely on his scoring, but he's doing the small things. He's doing the things that you need to do. Brad said, quote, winner, winner. He knows all about winning. And then Brad also told him that he might need to grow his mullet back to get his jump shot to fall. So,
I mean, been saying it for months.
Yeah. And then I saw Joey Wagner caught up with Meyer today and asked him about growing it back. And Meyer said, we'll see. I don't know. It's something we'll have to find out. It's not even close right now, so don't expect it anytime soon. And then Joey said, do you regret cutting it? And Meyer said, no, look at me. I am clean. So
that's BS, number one. Number two, let's see. I'm going to get a picture of him from the last game here so I can see what's what. Who did Syracuse? Yeah, I already forgot the opponent. That's how relevant they are. Yeah, it's definitely not close. I don't even know if you could maybe get something going by March, but that would be a close call, I think.
I mean, yeah, he'd have to shave the sides, and it
blew
wouldn't look good.
He blew it.
It's all right. I don't mind clean cut Matthew Meyer. His shots will fall, I think.
He can't shoot. So, what's he shooting from 3 this year? Let's check that out.
I don't know.
25%. Not great.
Well, he was what 30 last year. Like I said, like
32% last year.
In more minutes played, Myers 3-point shooting has went down every year.
40% 2 years ago.
Yeah. So, Jaden Epps, he's getting a ton of minutes. A lot of it probably had to do with RJ, in foul trouble early, but 26 minutes. He is 4 of 7 from the field, 3 of 6 from 3. Epps is now shooting 40% on the year from 3. So, if you want a guy to make a 3, get it to Epps, get him open.
Kind of got the offense going. Made the first 3 of the game for Illinois. Made 3 of them in the game overall. So, pretty good. I feel like he's playing more confident than any freshman probably when he comes in.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
That's not to say that the others aren't playing with confidence, but you could definitely see it with Epps.
Yeah, and you gotta like that Brad has the confidence in the freshman. I mean, last year there's no way you would have saw 3 freshmen on the court, let alone I mean, they had the lineup of Epps, Sincere, Sky, Ty Rogers, and Dane Danger in early in this game. I mean, it was early. So it just shows you how much he really has confidence in these freshmen.
I don't know if we'll see that in Big Ten games, but definitely.
Yeah, I don't know if you'll see that exact lineup, but I felt like Brad felt like he had to do something. Like he had to change it up. Crypto, what's up, buddy? Thanks for stopping by. He says, "Sup, fellas? Weird game, good defense." Yes, it was. It was a defensive showcase, and Syracuse can't shoot either. So, both are good. Dane Danger, 17 minutes, 1 of 4, 1 of 2 from the free throw line, 3 points, 2 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 block, 1 turnover. By the way, Epps also 0 turnovers. You love to see it. You mentioned it. Illinois had 7 turnovers. They only had 2 in the first half. So really good to see them handle the ball well, take care of it. I thought it was interesting. They did put Dane in with Coleman against the zone. Of course, that was in the first half, and that was when Illinois, for some reason, wasn't getting the ball to Coleman to facilitate the offense through the middle. But Brad said that he is coming off of sickness. Talked about the sickness last game. Apparently, Terrence Shannon was the one that was sick last game, not Coleman Hawkins. And then he said that Dane just got over it for this game. So that's probably a big reason why we didn't see a lot of Dane this game. But he played fine when he was in. I have no complaints. He had a couple nice moves that just didn't fall. Actually, nice moves that I thought. Ty Rogers, 15 minutes, 2 for 4, 4 points, 1 rebound, 2 assists, 0 turnovers. The 4 shots he took doubled his average per game this year. So, and he also worked the middle, and I thought that he was very efficient in the middle when he was there. So, it's nice that we have multiple guys that can work against that zone. Of course, who else is going to run a zone? Not very many people. I think John Shire ran one the other night, didn't he? For a little bit, but you're not going to see that zone very often, and that's probably why Boeheim needs to be fired. But
I think 95% of his team has no defensive ability or athleticism. So
yeah,
I mean, Mintz is athletic, but
yep,
it's a bad roster, bad coach.
Yeah, the ACC, all their teams that actually did something recently, besides the Blue Bloods, they're all terrible this year. So Florida State and Notre Dame, I think is something. Notre Dame was good though. Louisville, yeah. Sincere Harris, I just thought we'd mention him. He only played 4 minutes. He had 1 shot, didn't go in. He had played great defense like usual when he was in, but he had an ankle injury or something. And then Brad was asked about him. He said, quote, "Guys were in a good rhythm. We miss him. We've got to have him. He's in a good place. Injury's not serious. We'll need him on Friday." And then Sincere said that tweeted and said that he's good too. So,
all right,
that's good news. I gotta let the dogs out. So go ahead.
Yeah, I think it didn't look too serious when it happened. Just falling, have another player fall on him, and then gets up, tries to block him, gets called for a foul, kind of limps off. Didn't need him in the rest of that game anyway. Like Brad said, you're definitely gonna need him on Friday, especially when you have like Maryland guards, both transfers. They're two guards. I don't think that those guys are that efficient. If you look at this season so far,
yeah,
I think Sincere could really, really take one of them out of the game.
Yeah. Yep. Other quotes and notes, or notes and quotes. I don't remember which way I say that usually. So, anyways, 24 field goals on 21 assists. You pointed that out. Very nice. 24 field goals, not so nice, but it is what it is. 17 offensive rebounds. We already talked about the turnovers, and they forced 7 steals against Syracuse. So again, their defense was elite. And then Jim Boeheim, because you needed quotes from him. He had, like Ethan said, he had 3-minute post game, so we don't have a whole lot of stuff, but he basically just bashed on his players the whole time. He said, quote, "We've got some young guys that are trying to figure out what to do, and they didn't figure it out tonight. We got a lesson." Okay. He also said Illinois was a tremendous defensive team. If you play defense for too long, it's going to break you down in the second half, and it did. So,
yikes.
He was saying Syracuse played too much defense. They weren't on the offensive end enough. He said on Gerard, he says it weird, right? It's not Gerard. They say it weird, right? Okay. Anyways, somebody asked about his confidence, and he said, quote, "He's a senior. If he has no confidence now, he shouldn't be playing."
Yeah, well, he's not wrong, but also there's a reason he doesn't have confidence. Is because you're probably putting him in bad spots. It's like he's not athletic. All they can do is shoot. And when you face a team like Illinois that has a legitimate guard or guards that can play defense, especially like Sky Clark or Sincere Harris or Jaden Epps, those guys all have the capability to take Gerard out of the game, and they did. So I wouldn't have confidence either if my coach was dumping all over me and I'm warning for 80 in the last
Gerard's
3 games.
Like I know he's a senior, but like he was like a 3-star. He's 5'2". I mean, what was he? Just because he was buddies with the Boeheims, does that mean that he should play that much? I don't know.
I mean, he had 31 points against Richmond. That's the hilarious thing. It's like he had 31 points 3 games ago, and ever since then he has 2 field goals the last 3 games.
Yeah. Jay says Illinois always seems to come up short at Maryland, at least the ones I remember. Yes, they have struggled at Maryland in recent years. Hopefully they can turn that around. And then the last one I got from Boeheim, which is very interesting that he would say something like this on Benny Williams' technical. He said, quote, "You can't lose your temper at the end. That's just childish and immature. You get frustrated, but that's no excuse." He had a guy slap somebody.
Yeah.
Jim,
well,
what are we
doing?
The
difference
here?
is that Mintz is a good player. They need him.
Benny's been good. I think he didn't play last game because he was sick.
Well,
he struggled this game.
I don't even think what he did was that bad. Like he's acting, he's talking about Williams like he's the one who smacked Doug.
Right. Yeah, I couldn't understand it, but
stupid.
Yeah. Some things from Brad after the game. He said, quote, "We talk a lot about how do you win games when the ball doesn't go in. Pretty ugly night, but yet I felt great about our offense, our shots we got, and our execution." He's not wrong. I mean, Illinois got a lot of open shots. Some of them weren't even close,
But it's also Syracuse. And let me just say this real quick. That Illini Facebook.
Yeah, you can't do this against Maryland.
Yeah, that Illini Facebook group that I talk about frequently, they literally pick the dumbest and smallest things to care about. Like, I think I saw a post and I got a screen moving all over my left side. I got to change that. It's going wild over here. But like they were tweeting or posting like something about how they were complaining about how Fran Fraschilla was saying that a double tech for Benny Williams was too much, which I think it probably was too much.
Yeah.
That's just me. But I also think it was the end of the game. It was a blowout. Get him out of here. Blah, blah, blah.
He also, after Coleman got his 10th rebound and the whole place went crazy, he said, "Was that rebound number 10?"
Yeah, well, Fran's not very in tune with the game. Glad he'll be doing Creighton, Texas tonight.
Yeah.
But seriously, like, out of all the things to care about, they're wasting a post in this group on that, saying, I didn't like that Fran said that. I thought that it was a 25-point game and he got thrown out. It's not like he hit a player. He just got really mad because he thought he got fouled.
Yeah, and he was just frustrated. I mean, what'd Benny go? 2 of 6 for 8 points. I mean,
wouldn't you be frustrated too if your 130-year-old coach was dumping all over you and just sits there like this the whole time? Hey, is there a game going on? Like, come on.
Wake up, Jim.
Jesus.
So this win got Underwood his 100th win. Congratulations, 100th at Illinois, of course.
That's not an accomplishment.
He said, quote, "A lot of really good players, a lot of great coaches, and an administration who helped us survive early when they sucked. I'm the beneficiary of that. I'm grateful, glad that you all care. You all care about us enough to write about us and follow us." So I think he was talking about us during that. So,
how many wins did Gross have at Illinois? Let's do that. 54, 74. He had 97.
How long was Gross here?
6 seasons.
Too long. So 6 seasons.
1 tournament appearance, 97.
So, yeah, this is Brad's 6th season. So,
yeah, but also Brad had 26 wins in his first 2 seasons.
Yeah, he also has the worst record ever in Illinois history, right?
Yeah, so. Gross had 43 in his first 2 seasons. And
hard to believe.
Underwood had 26. And also, there was the whole COVID thing where 2020 they probably would have gotten a couple wins, maybe a Big Ten tournament win or an NCAA tournament win. And then the year after that, they played a few less games.
Yeah,
because 31 games after playing – Illinois played 31 games in the COVID regular season. And they played 3 Big Ten tournament games, and that's 5 extra games outside of the regular season. So they only played 26 regular season games that year. So that takes away some wins as well. So he should have gotten this win a long time ago. Either way, good to see it. And he actually built the program up while previous coaches, not a knock on Bruce Weber, but those guys inherited good teams and drove them into the ground.
Yeah.
So Gross more than Weber, and Bill Self inherited, not that bad. He inherited a good team, right? So 27-8 in 2001, right? Elite 8, but Bill Self actually won in the tournament. That's the difference. He's also a cheater. But anyway.
Yeah.
Congrats to Brad Underwood.
Yeah, he also said, quote, "I hope there's 100 more and counting in the future. I think this program can elevate to levels we haven't seen yet. I hope the next 100 don't take as long as this." So,
yep.
But yeah, again, great win, great defensive effort. When your shooting's not there and you find a way to beat a team by 29, especially a Power 6 team, it means a lot, regardless of how bad Syracuse is. So, and shout out to Coleman Hawkins on the triple-double, 4th player in Illinois history. He talked about how he, saw Io do it when he was a freshman twice, and he said that it's the first one he's ever had in his whole career. So,
all right. I mean,
congrats.
Yeah, Io did it against Minnesota, February 20th, 2021, or 2021. Is that Yeah, that's right. Because it's been Tuesday, right? Yeah. Anyway, and the other one was Nebraska, right? Something like that. Yeah, it was right. Wisconsin. Sorry, Wisconsin.
The other red and white team.
February 6th. That was the day before this. February 6th, 2021, day before the Super Bowl.
Okay.
Top of my head, by the way. Also, I had the Baylor Iowa stat line 6 for 18 against Baylor. I had that off the top of my head as well. So people may say I don't pay attention. I'm paying attention very closely. And I also watched Io DeSumu's team get ripped apart last night, but that's just me. Anyway, moving right along.
Nice subtle.
I wanted to shoehorn the Suns into this.
Good job.
All right.
Good job.
Yeah.
On to Illinois' first real
Big
road
10.
game test, right?
Yep, and it's in the Big Ten, and it's at an environment that's going to be going crazy because I don't think they expect it to be 7-0. got to be excited that loser Turgeon isn't there anymore. They got Willard in there. I wanted to bring this stat up real quick because they always have the two Big Ten games in December. Brad Underwood, in his time at Illinois, 5 seasons of this. Last season they went 2-0. They beat Rutgers and Iowa. The previous 2 seasons they went 1-1, and the first 2 seasons they went 0-2. So that's 4-6 total. But in the last 3 seasons, that's 4-2. So,
yeah,
I don't know what you want to do with that.
Great stats.
Who do they play after Maryland would be the big thought there. Penn State. So I think they have a chance to go
at home. Yeah,
that should be 1-1 or 2-0.
The home opener, which they apparently Illinois sold some of the Orange Crush tickets, which is unreal. I don't know what they were thinking,
and they wonder why they can't get back to the Final Four or anything else. It's bad karma.
The karma is killing them.
This game is 8:00, Big Ten Network, probably a Bardo game. Feels like a Bardo game if I had to guess. Unfortunate, but what can you do? Year 1 in College Park for Kevin Willard. It's gone pretty well, leaving Seton Hall for Maryland. Always thought this would be a good fit. Kind of unfortunate when you have to play against it, because I think Willard is one of the best coaches in this conference. I think eventually that'll be proven. I think right up there with, you could still say Izzo is up there. You could probably throw Matt Painter up there. And the way that he coaches within the league, I'd say Fran is up there, even though I don't like him, obviously.
Yeah.
I think Brad's up there. A lot of good coaches in this conference. I think Willard's already towards the top. But they're 7-0. Wins over Niagara by 22. West Carolina by 20, and Birmingham by 24. Those 3 teams are not top 100 or not top 200 in KenPom. But then they beat number 43 on KenPom, St. Louis, by 28. They beat number 42 on KenPom, Miami, by 18. Miami beat Rutgers last night. And then they beat number 304, Coppin State, by 16. And then they beat a miserable Louisville team by 25. So they haven't played a top 40 opponent on KenPom yet, but they've dominated everybody they've played. They might have the best point differential in the country, I would assume, but they got to be up there.
Yeah, Steve says, scary team early in the year, but I think we will win.
That's kind of what I feel about Maryland. It's like they're not going to go undefeated, but then you look at their next 3 games after Illinois, they're going to lose at some point. Yeah. Hopefully the losing starts here.
They got a heck of a schedule coming up.
Yeah,
the next 4.
They probably assume Louisville will be a little bit better going into the season when they had them on their schedule.
Right.
But obviously that's not the case. But Miami and St. Louis, those are good wins, mostly in the fact that they just destroyed both of them.
Yeah. Brady wants to know if Louisville is the worst program in the country.
I don't think they're the worst, but they are not going in the right direction, especially when you look at how bad they've been overall. One of the top recruits in the 2023 class, who I believe has his grandpa or some relative is on the Louisville staff, chose Kentucky over Louisville. So, yeah, DJ Wagner. That's not good. But anyway, back to Maryland. They rank 8th in the country in 2-point percentage. Illinois is 11th, so both of these teams very good inside the arc. But Maryland's 229th from 3. So I think if you can keep them, to the outside as much as possible, I think you have a very good chance to win this game if you're Illinois.
Yeah, I did see against Louisville, they made 5 threes in a row, though. So
that's Louisville, who is just out there they're just
sure
there.
They're playing any defense.
They're just there. Yeah. Does Louisville? Let me see something here. So Louisville, when are they going to get their first? I mean, the showdown between Louisville and Florida State next Saturday is going to be awesome. Maybe Louisville gets their first
ball. Good ball there, I'm sure.
Sad state of affairs in the ACC at the bottom, but the Big Ten still couldn't handle them. This begins a stretch for Maryland. They play Illinois, then they play Wisconsin, Tennessee, and UCLA. I believe they have Wisconsin's the only true road game out of those 4. But they have a neutral site against Tennessee, and then they're home against UCLA. I think the UCLA-Maryland game, December 14th, very interesting to see how that matches up, because I think Jaquez might get taken out of the game by Scott or Hart. I think those guys can match up with him.
Yeah.
And Amari Bailey's starting to play better for UCLA, but we'll see how that goes. The big reason why Maryland kind of wasn't viewed as a team that could be a huge threat this season is not only the fact that it's a new coach and sometimes it takes a while. I think this day and age, it doesn't take as much time usually to build a program back up. I think if Illinois would have gotten Brad Underwood in the last 2 years, I think they would have fast-tracked and not had 2 terrible seasons to start. But it's a different time now. It was guard play because they have 2 guard transfers. They lose Fats Russell, which is great for them because Fats Russell just not. he's not a fit in the Big Ten.
He's not. Well, he's not point guard. I mean, he's
also incredibly inefficient. It's like Caleb Love times 100.
Yeah.
So not good. But Jameer Young has been good for them. Charlotte transfer, 6'1". Guard had 15 points, 4 rebounds, 5 assists, 3 steals against Louisville. Not that, I mean, he's like Chris Paul against those Louisville guards. There's a huge difference.
Yeah.
The Louisville guards are like Fats Russell times 100. So there you go. And then you have Donald Carey, guard, 6'5", Georgetown transfer. Hasn't been a very good start of the season for him. Not good numbers. I think his shooting percentages are ugly to look at. If I can find those, he's 26%. Yeah. And he's only taken 9 shots inside the arc. He's 6 for 9 from there. But I don't think he's really there for his offensive prowess, even though, he was a 38% shooter from 3 last year at Georgetown. So it must be weird for him to be 7-0 right now while he played at Georgetown last year where they were, 6-25. So that must be interesting to feel.
Yeah.
Then you have 3 guys that Illinois fans should be familiar with. You have Dante Scott, I think is the biggest X factor in this game.
He was last year at Maryland.
25 points against SLU, 24 points against Miami. So 2 of their best opponents this season, he was there. And they also have Hakeem Hart, 6'8". He's got a 115+ offensive rating in every game per KenPom. Not a lot of players have that.
They list him as a guard on ESPN.
I mean, there you go, 6'8" guard,
shooting 43% from 3.
Yeah, I don't think that a lot of teams have the size to match up. A lot of teams that they've played, I don't think have the size to match up with 3 guys that are
6'8".
And Donald Carey's pretty big for a guard as well.
Yeah,
height wise. And they have Julian Reese, 6'9". He has 24 offensive rebounds this season. Kind of a player that you thought was raw last season as a freshman, but there was a lot of talent there. Interesting to me that he took 23 threes last season, hasn't taken any this season, and he's been way better inside the paint, shooting 78% from the field from 2s because he hasn't taken any 3s. But the weird thing here to me is that he is shooting 53% from the free throw line this year, 34 attempts. He was 80% last year with 51 attempts. So what happened? But then it's changed with inside the paint. From 2-point range last year, he was 48%. This year, he's 78%.
Yeah.
So very weird stats for him this season. He did have
he only worked on post game, apparently.
Apparently so, yeah. He his best game of the year was against Coppin State. Not that that's a huge opponent, but he's been their MVP in 3 games this year on KenPom. He was 10 for 12, 24 points, 10 boards, 2 blocks and a steal in that game. Also fouled out, so that was good against Coppin State. But this is a good lineup. I mean, probably on paper preseason you say this is a wait and see lineup. I think they could be good, but it was all about the guards, and the guards have been good enough, but they're about to step up a couple weight classes with the next 4 opponents.
Yeah. And
maybe
I think
not Wisconsin, though. Maybe not Wisconsin.
Yeah, I think that's a big part of it is how Illinois can pressure the guards and stop the inside game, or them even being able to get it to the inside game. See how Coleman plays, in the post defensively. Sky had a couple good plays again, guarding Edwards from Syracuse. So we're going to see how good the switching defense of Brad Underwood is in this game.
I mean, guards have had the good guards that have played against them have had, some success against them. Isaiah Wong from Miami had 22 points against them.
Yeah.
With a couple rebounds, 3 assists. Now, Nigel Pack, who's supposed to be a big-time guard for Miami as well, did struggle, only had 7 points. But, you look at the game against St. Louis, that's kind of one of those things where it's like, Yuri Collins, 12 points, 3 rebounds, 6 assists. That's a guard, a small guard too, that had a good game. But and Javonte Perkins, former Mizzou, 6'6", probably a forward, maybe a guard, but he had 17 against them. So guards have been able to tear them up. And I also think that they haven't faced a team with Illinois' depth and good depth.
Yeah.
So this is definitely going to be a little bit of a different look for Maryland that they haven't seen before. KenPom numbers, adjusted offense, Illinois 38th, Maryland 17th. Adjusted defensive efficiency, Illinois is 10th, Maryland's 38th. And
how far did Illinois move up after the Syracuse game?
I want to say if we look at the last podcast, I would say maybe 15 to 10 or something. It might have been more severe than that.
19th.
19. So okay,
moved up 9.
That helps. A game like that helps when you're facing non-athletic shooters, kind of.
What do you think the line will be? Maryland -2 or 3? I would,
I'll say 3.5, 2.5, 3.5.
Yeah,
I think in that range.
I think Maryland's going to be favorite. Yeah, 3.5. I'd say 3.5 sounds.
Let me see. Good. There might even be one now. I mean, maybe they dropped it early. Probably not, though.
Might be able to find it somewhere.
sk.com. Here we go. No line. Okay. I mean, it's a whole article about how there's going to be a line. There's no line.
Lying to you.
Yeah. Okay.
Did you do tempo or not?
No, I did not.
I cut you off. Sorry.
Also, I have it. I don't know whose line this is, but Maryland -2.
Yeah.
Open 2.5. So over under 144.
I think Illinois will get bet heavy, which is always scary. So.
Well, they're playing the
Vegas
number 1.
Doesn't like to lose.
They're playing Ken Palm's number 1 and my number 1 team after this. So be ready. Tempo, Illinois 15th, Maryland 193rd. So, I don't think that's a big factor here. Yeah. I don't think Illinois is going to get out and run.
Yeah, so we're relying on Illinois half-court offense, which is
probably.
This is going to be – I mean, Illinois' got to shoot better, right?
Maryland's not a great defensive team by any standard either. So,
yeah.
The thing that they have is the size to match up.
Big Ten ACC Challenge. Home teams were 10-2 versus the spread, Jay says.
All right. Well, that's
crazy.
Not, I mean, did Clemson cover the spread? I wonder who the losses were. I guess probably Wisconsin.
I'm sure Jay will tell you. Just ask him. Players to watch. I'm going to go with Dane Danger here. I feel like I've picked him like 7 times in 6 games or whatever. So, but I think
is he still sick? I mean,
yeah, I think that matters. But against Maryland's height, I think you might have to run Dane in there a few times with Coleman to kind of slow them down on the interior. And then I'd like, we'll see. I think that this is a game where he could have a really good offensive, efficient night. So we'll see if he's healthy. If not, it's going to be a lot of work for Coleman to guard 3 6'8" guys. So,
well, Shannon can help and Meyer can help, and
Sky Clark can help. I know. I'm just saying.
Sincere and Ty, and they got the personnel.
Yeah. For Maryland, I'm taking Jameer Young. We talked about it a little bit earlier, but Illinois putting pressure on these guards, I think, is going to be a big factor in this game. So I want to see how much pressure they can put on Jameer. I was going to take Dante Scott, but you already took him.
It's Dante.
His name's Dante. There's no hard A on there.
Wisconsin and Louisville were the home teams that lost. Okay, that sounds right. Maryland's number 22, Gary. Anyway. Taking Matthew Meyer, I think if he can start knocking down some threes, I think that makes a big difference. And I like the setup for him because the only starting player for Maryland that is a smaller guard that can blow by him is Jameer Young. I think he can stay in front of the other 3 plus Donald Carey, who's not that much of an offensive threat. Meyer should have a good game. I don't see why not. And then I picked Dante Scott because the only great game he had last season where he was the MVP of the game was against Illinois. Yeah. And it was at Maryland, and it was January 21st. He had 25 points. He was 9 for 12 from the field, had 6 rebounds, 2 assists, and a block. The difference between this game and that game is I think Illinois has a much better setup to get him defensively. Because remember in that game, Kofi was out. You had BBV starting. Your lineup was Frazier, Plummer, DeMonte. That's 6'2", 6'1", 6'3", 6'6", Grandison, 6'8", BBV. That is not this year's team. This year's team has way more size than that. And Hawkins only played 11 minutes in that game. Omar Payne only played 13, so they had nobody to match up with him. Plus, they had Qudus Wahab on that team last year at Maryland, who was 6'11". So Illinois simply did not have the size to match up. This time, I think they do. I'm interested to see how Scott plays against that.
Yeah. You think Coleman's going to be on him?
Well, they switch everything. We can't even really say.
But I mean, to start the game?
No, I think Coleman will be on Reese to start. I think Meyer's going to be on Scott.
Okay.
And then I think you have Shannon on Hart, or maybe Shannon on Scott and then Meyer on Hart.
Yeah. Scott just loves to post up. So
you could always see RJ against one of those 6'8" guys as well.
RJ will throw an elbow in somebody's kidneys. Yeah.
That's right.
Predictions. Here we go. What do we think? Ethan hates Illinois. Don't ever forget it. But I got Illinois winning this one in a nail biter. I think it's going to be a good game. I think it's going to be close. I hope Illinois can pull off the miracle in Maryland, as I'm going to call this. Illinois 71, Maryland 69. Illinois opens up the Big Ten with a victory because they are going 17-0 to start.
Okay. Well, I'm not sure that they're going to score 71 points. You've been classically over predicting their score this season.
They shot 28% and scored 74.
That was against Syracuse, and it was 73, by the way. If Servin could make another free throw, it would have been 74.
Yeah.
But I'll say this. I got Maryland 68-64. I just think that, number one, I picked this preseason, so I almost have to stick with it. And number two,
it looked like it looked like a kind of a weird, crazy pick, and it turned into a very solid one preseason. So,
but if I could go against my word, I would say Illinois is going to win this game because I think that they match up well, and I think that Maryland is going to get their first punch in the mouth, which they haven't gotten this season.
They haven't had any adversity, right? Every game's been a blowout. They haven't had to face any adversity, so I think Illinois has more talent to be able to go in there and win over Maryland. And
I also think that Illinois needs to treat this game like Virginia treats these road games, where I don't care what happens. I don't care if you go down 10, you're always in the game.
Yeah.
Virginia classically plays so much better defensively in the second half.
Yeah.
So I think Illinois needs to treat games like that, and they need to have the mentality of, okay, this Maryland team hasn't seen anything yet. We're about to show them something. And they need to beat them by 40 or 50 to send a message. But a win by one would be cool as well.
I'd take 10.
I'd take one.
I think 10 sends a message.
I would take a 49-48 victory in this game. That's how far I'm willing to go.
Okay.
I would be willing to see Illinois shoot 24% and win the game by one. I don't even care. And also, Illinois has not played very well last few games.
Right.
Like, since coming back from Vegas, the 2 games, not good. And they won them both by a ton. I know it was Lindenwood. I know it was a bad Syracuse team, but I think it says a lot that they haven't really had any real scares against lesser opponents in them. Not to say that Maryland is, but
Illini is more proven, says Gary. I mean, they've played tougher competition and they've had more. I can't think of the word. Closer games. Anyways.
Well, I'll say this as well. Would you rather have Illinois set up where they have a few hard games really early and then kind of a little bit of a coast? They do have Texas, but going into the Big Ten, or would you rather have them as like what Maryland's doing, which is the first 7 games are not that difficult?
No, I like how Illinois did it. Get a couple warm-up games, play some tough competition, get lucky in the Big Ten ACC draw, I guess is what you'd call it. And then, I mean, you're gonna play Texas. I mean, so.
Well, Missouri looks like they might be. Missouri could be a formidable opponent this year as well. I mean, you look at Missouri's ranked 8th in the country in tempo, so that could be a flying game there. Of course, Missouri hasn't played anybody, but when they play Kansas and Illinois, they'll get a taste of what's what.
Yeah, and I think that game all comes down to who actually cares about the bragging rights game. So hopefully Illinois cares more.
Well, Illinois has, like, their roster has a little bit more experience in it than this Missouri roster does because, Mosley was at Missouri State last year. DeAndre Golson was at Milwaukee. Demoy Hodge was at Cleveland State. Noah Carter was at Northern Iowa. I don't know why I said my own last name like that. Sean East was at Bradley. Kobe Brown was at Missouri, so that's one guy. Nick Honor was at Clemson. Like, they literally have all transfers. So if they care more than this Illinois team does, I know Illinois has a lot of newcomers, but they also have freshmen that committed to this program. They have Hawkins and Melendez and Goody, who will be on the bench not playing, but he was there.
Yeah.
I will lose my mind if they lose this game. But anyway, that's a few weeks from now. But
Crypto says I actually feel good about this one, so bet accordingly. I'm going to say this. We haven't had somebody watching this that has posted that has Illinois lose a game yet. Just so you guys know.
It's true. They might even say, I feel really good about Illinois beating Texas. I think Illinois wins by 15. We can see that next week.
Yeah.
But if you're an Illini fan, let me just do this one first. If you're an Illini fan and you're wanting to scout some future opponents, check out Creighton and Texas tonight on ESPN. That game is in 40 minutes? That's a 6:00 game.
Yes, it is.
6:00 game, Big East, Big 12 battle, big game. Creighton last game was Arizona, I think, and then Texas played a cupcake after that. Then also just threw this in there. Seton Hall, Kansas is another one of those games. I was doing this before the other thing.
You're fine.
Perfect segue from Texas. Kansas is going to kill them, but that's an interesting game. Arizona, Utah is another game I threw on there just because the thrill score on KenPom is really high with this game for some reason. I think it's like the number 2 game of the night, or actually it's the number 1 game of the night, which is
really
wild to me.
Yeah.
Maybe because it's, I guess, a true road game for Arizona and it's a conference game, and I don't know. But anyway, Arizona is the number 1 tempo team in the country. That has to help. And then Oklahoma State, UConn I throw on there because UConn's been rolling everybody. Oklahoma State this year, the metrics like them, but they do have losses to Southern Illinois and UCF. So I think they're probably going to get destroyed tonight, especially at UConn, but that'll be an interesting game to watch.
So go watch them get destroyed, sure.
Well, the big headline here is Creighton, Texas. That's
Absolutely.
the one to watch.
That's the one we all care about, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, totally. We want to scout future opponents. The Big Ten embarrassed themselves in the Big Ten ACC Challenge, the final one. 8-6 ACC total embarrassment.
What did you have? What was your prediction?
11-3 Big Ten. Obviously, they let me down a lot. It's terrible. Really embarrassed to be a Big Ten fan. ACC winners were Virginia Tech and Pitt. Virginia, Clemson, Wake Forest, Notre Dame, Duke, and Miami. Big Ten winners, the only ones that should be able to stay in this conference after this. One is not like the others, I would say. Illinois, Indiana, Maryland, Purdue, Iowa, Nebraska. So Nebraska is staying true to their word.
Keep Nebraska ball here. I like it.
Northwestern's a joke. Just got destroyed by Pitt. That's a bad one. If you're going to get destroyed in this challenge, you ought to be getting destroyed by Virginia or Duke.
Yeah.
Not Pitt, who is not good.
This is the most Big Ten basketball I've been able to watch this year. So I always enjoy this just because, you got games three nights in a row. They're always going to be, good matchups. You have Florida State, who's awful, somehow gave Purdue a game for a little while till the end. It's crazy. You know what that Florida State Purdue game made me think, though? That Illinois is better than Purdue because Florida State is long and athletic, and Illinois is the same, except Illinois actually has basketball skills.
That's fair. That's very fair. That's very fair.
Yeah. So
I hope Brad has a good plan against Edie. I'll say that.
Yeah.
Michigan and Wisconsin both lost at home floor. Michigan, I understand they're playing Virginia. They couldn't hold on. Wisconsin had a lead late. Wake Forest, come on, that's just. I mean, I'm fine with it because screw Wisconsin, right? But man.
Yeah.
And the Big Ten, I still think the Big Ten has more depth than the ACC because the bottom of the ACC is awful. Even after Louisville, Syracuse, and Florida State, there's another tier of more bad teams. I don't think Pitt's a good basketball team. I don't even know if I would say North Carolina is a good basketball team.
Dickie V said the ACC and the Big 12 are the two best conferences.
I don't know why you're trying to make me attack Dickie V, but I think he's totally wrong. I think the Big 12, yeah, sure. I think the Big 10, the Big East, and the Pac-12 are kind of all in the same spot.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe even the ACC. I think the difference, though, is that the Big 10 has more depth than any of those conferences, I think. I don't know if it's good depth, but
how long do you think Hubert lasts if he keeps not coaching his team?
4 years.
That's embarrassing.
They're not going to do anything.
I mean, they literally don't play. They don't have an offense.
But here's the thing. From January 14th to February 1st, they have six winnable games, very winnable games. So they'll win all 6 of those. Their record will start to look good.
Yep.
Because they go Louisville, Boston College, NC State, Syracuse, Pitt. I think that's 5 actually. But anyway, yeah, they have some stretches there where like in between playing Duke and Virginia, they have some pretty easy games. So I think that they're going to they'll probably end up going like 19-12, and everybody will be like, oh, there's North Carolina 8 seed or something. And then
they'll go to the championship game. Yeah.
Yeah. But he's blatantly not coaching. So that's,
Yeah.
I think a lot of
weird.
coaches in this conference are doing that though.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Duke and Virginia are elite. I think Virginia more than Duke. I think Duke will get better as the season goes on. Like I said, preseason, I think Duke by March is going to be absolutely out of this world. So a Duke-Virginia ACC title game in the tournament could be great. We'll see if it actually happens. I think the only Big Ten team that you can say is elite right now, I think, is still Purdue. I still think that you got to wait and see on them. But I think Virginia.
I mean, they did go in that hostile, 1,000 person crowd at the Florida State game. So
I said wait and see.
I know.
But I think Virginia is the only current title contender out of the 2 conferences that I'd be comfortable saying. I think Duke's very close. I think Purdue, you can make an argument. I think this is the perfect team for Painter to go deep in the tournament with, given the fact that the teams that didn't have, the great go-to guys, like the team that had Carson Edwards, Elite 8, I believe, a little bit more similar to what they had last year.
Yeah. And it's Brendan Smith or Braden Smith or whatever his name is. Braden. That kid is going to be a problem. He's going to remind you of all those little Wisconsin and Iowa guards that annoy you. So.
How about Stefanovic, but an actual guard?
North Carolina lost a bunch of games early last year. Yeah. They got hot. I mean, what I think the biggest thing about North Carolina is they beat Duke to send Coach K off, and that's what got them rolling. And then they got to meet him again in the Final Four and beat him again. I think that was the biggest part of that. But
I mean, they went 8-3. They went 8-3 in non-conference, or 9-3 in non-conference last year. So, and their losses were.
That's
Purdue.
The thing. It's like when their guards are playing well and scoring. I mean, yeah, they're really good. Indiana's defense is really good too. They gave their guards fits. So.
Also, I see people comparing UNC to UCLA when UCLA went to the Final Four a couple years ago, and then like UCLA last year was way better than North Carolina is this year. Yeah. UCLA last year, I know they lost North Carolina in the tournament last year, but UCLA last year off of a quote unquote fluke Final Four went 27-8 and 15-5 in the Pac-12. So it's different. UNC's worse than this. Yeah. UNC's not going to go 27-8. So that's a factor as well. And also Hubert just doesn't coach. And I would argue that Mick Cronin does coach. So there you go. All right.
He does something.
That'll do it for us.
All right.
Episode 128 will come your way. I don't know.
Somewhere between Friday and Tuesday.
Yeah, maybe right? Monday. I don't know. I don't really want to do it Sunday, but we'll see. Yeah. All right. We'll be back episode 128. Check out the Twitter at Podcast Line. I'll be bitching about the game tomorrow night. On there, maybe a recap video of that. And
you might be. You might not be. You might just be excited. So
that's another possibility. But all right, we will see everybody next time for episode 128. We'll talk about this game. Then we'll talk about Texas, and hopefully Illinois wins, doesn't embarrass the entire program and the state. Okay, bye.